Hello ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here, and this is going to be set 5 in this series. It's going to be S2 off that win against Perfect Man against Wasling Oz's ace. Jaedong has come out, and should he win this game, Jaedong will go on to face Bisu and Fantasy, or Fantasy and Bisu if he can get wins in whatever order occurs. In the top left, we have the white zerg, that's going to be Jaedong. And in the top right, we have the red zerg, and that's going to be S2. This is Empire of the Sun. And honestly, none of the maps in the Pro League pool really lend themselves to too much creative play in ZVZ. Triathlon was one of those maps, I think. Whatever, that lent itself to some weirdness, and yeah, there were some different maps that you could see some very interesting ZVZs occurring. But all of the maps in Pro League right now are pretty standard. Fortress is a little bit weirder, with the corner pseudo islands, and really, it's basically it. I think Fortress is really the only kind of weird one. Basically everything else is pretty normal looking, so I think we're going to see a pretty standard game here. And Jaedong standard ZVZ is usually almost always about 75% of the time is a win. Doesn't matter who he's playing, whether his opponent is the best ZVZer, or well, I should say the second best ZVZer or the worst ZVZer, he's going to win virtually every single time. Unless he runs up against against Hydra, which by the way was one of the best ZVZ series I've seen. Just one of the best played ZVZ series ever. That was awesome from the MSL. And S2 is pretty decent at ZVZ. I mean, he's not a bad player overall. He's like all the SKT zergs. He's very, very streaky, but he's certainly not a bad player. And you know, it's certainly possible that he comes away with the win. Some of those streaky guys are the ones that suddenly get an all kill, like Perfective or I think Reality maybe. There were definitely some weird guys in Winners League that were getting all kills, or if you go into the past, Sky High and Gwemchi were getting all kills and things like that. So anyone can beat anyone on a Winners League day when there isn't as much preparation. By the way, both players went for a 12 hatch. They have mirror builds, hatch first, and so yeah, should be seeing a lot of zerglings out once the spawning pools and the hatcheries finish, and they have all of those larvae laying around. There'll be a lot of zerglings coming out, and then it comes down to zergling control. And should be pretty fun. Should be very, very exciting and stress-filled, as ZVZ tends to be. You stop watching for just a couple seconds and suddenly, well, you know how it goes. Looks like Jaedong has been saving his larva for his zerglings, whereas S2 has not been, and Jaedong getting both players going for lair as soon as possible. And yeah, it looks like S2 really has not been stressing getting zerglings as much as Jaedong has, and we'll see if that ends up coming into play. If Jaedong tries to be aggressive, he might have a 1 egg worth of zerglings, so 2 zerglings ahead on S2, but S2 will have the shorter reinforcement route. So we'll see if that comes into play at all. A few drones have been transferred for both players, and S2 should have zerglings out any second. He's gonna need them. The zerglings for Jaedong are almost there. They are about to stream in, and there should be zerglings for S2 any time now. Yeah, there they are, finally. So it looks like S2 actually tried to sneak a couple eggs, perhaps, of drones in, and if he's able to get away with it and is not punished at all, that could end up being important. But Jaedong is streaming a good number of zerglings. Look at this, he has just been pumping zerglings, and S2 is going to have to defend both his natural and his main. The main forces for Jaedong will be outside his natural, but inside the main there are a couple zerglings that will be very, very annoying, and S2 really can't devote too many forces to deal with those 2 zerglings because, well, he has to watch out for the main army. Spires going up for both players, and it looks like S2 is S2 not there. He goes. Yeah, S2 has to deal with these zerglings. He does not want in the middle of the fight to just to lose a drone or something because he wasn't paying very good attention. And it looks like a little bit of a battle going on here. One of the zerglings, no, none of the zerglings actually getting picked up. I thought they were. One of the zerglings inside of the main for Jaedong, both of them now go down without doing any damage. So S2 able to defend pretty comfortably, and was able to sneak a couple of drones in there that Jaedong was not. So that will definitely give S2 a little bit of an advantage on economy. And both players look like they're getting their extractors up and running right now. And Jaedong with his army out in the field doesn't look like... I mean, this is not a... There's no ramps on this map, so concaves sitting in on top or bottom really are not as effective. You can build the concave in between your main and your natural, but it's not really a place where you want to. So you kind of have to build the mass of troops and of zerglings and just try and fight a little bit more normally, I guess. You can't really make that concave where you're trying to easily get as many zerglings into play against your opponent as possible. And you kind of have to do it the more traditional way of building your own concave yourself. And here comes Jaedong, and S2 actually going to come in here. And who's going to... I don't know who has the better concave. It's pretty linear right now. But it looks like Jaedong actually had more zerglings in there for a longer period of time. And he is going to win here. Win the battle here. Maybe. No, actually, never mind. It is still very, very close. And Jaedong's actually going to go into the natural expansion. Going to try and pick off some drones here. Is he able to do so? Middle is coming out for S2. And so far, no drones have gone down. One drone goes down. One drone does go down. It looks like a second drone might go down. Should go down if Jaedong's on it. Jaedong does manage to pick off the second drone. And I don't think the Zerglings are going to pick off any more drones. But he does manage to get two. And yeah, this game is very, very close. Both players have lost most of their Zergling forces. But S2 still should have half a dozen. And now we're going to head over into the Mutalisk battle. And both players will be able to afford very, very large number of Mutalisks because they both have their second gas. So we're not going to be... You're going to be able to produce whatever composition, basically, of Mutascourge that you prefer, working off the two gas. And then, of course, we come down to Control and Micro, who's got the better Bermuda Triangles, who perhaps takes their Mutalisks into a bad position first and loses them. And S2 is going to lose that Scourge for nothing. And that can definitely hurt. That can definitely change a battle. Here comes Jaedong going on the offensive. It looks like both players probably ate a Scourge there. And Jaedong coming in with a couple more Scourge, looking to try and do some damage. Was only able to get one drone, one, but not too terrible considering how long he was actually hovering over those drones. That could have been much worse for S2. He could have lost all three. And a couple Zerglings sneaking into the base of Jaedong. Will he be able to get a kill? Probably not. But the Mutalisk coming into play, and Jaedong seeing it coming and pulls his drones back, so he's not going to lose any here. At least not yet, and looking to get a couple volleys off on the Mutalisks as they spawn, and does manage to do so, and just eats a couple of Scourge, and a couple more Scourge S2 does. So he's eaten actually a lot of Scourge here, and Jaedong, I believe, has eaten a couple, but not as many as S2 right now. S2 almost looked willing to eat the Scourge just to get in a couple more volleys. I'm not sure if that was very wise on his part, and yeah, definitely has taken more Scourge hits. So only 2 drones on gas in the main, I think, for S2. I don't know if that's a mistake or just the number of drones he has. That's the method he has to go with. And Jaedong looks like he's going to come on the offensive here again with his Mutalisk Cloud. The Clouds actually look similar, but I think Jaedong's are slightly healthier. So yeah, I think S2 has to be a little bit more careful. And here comes Jaedong's reinforcements, and a big battle coming in here. Lots of control needed here. And it looks like most of the Scourge have gone down for both players, and S2 does land one there. Jaedong lands one as well. And I think Jaedong's going to get the victory here. It looked like he had a bigger cloud going into the battle, and he does. There's nothing left for S2. S2 is going to be forced to GG, and Jaedong is going to force SKT to bring out Fantasy and Bisu, and those are the matches that we really want to see. That's the real main event. All of this other stuff, the first 5 sets, were just the undercard. The main event is coming up next as soon as S2 decides to GG, we'll get to the main event, either Jaedong and Fantasy or Jaedong and Bisu in set 6. It's going to be on Benzene. I'll see you guys there. It should be a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm very excited to see which of the two, which of Fantasy or Bisu gets thrown out, and what really happens in the next game.